Hello and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is BryanCPSteele and I will be your nerd today and any other day that you watch one of my silly little shows. So before we get started, even in the week in Bryan, I have to apologize for two things that are sadly currently out of my control if I want to get a video out this week to you guys, which I really do because there's so much cool stuff happening. First and foremost, the lighting in here, I changed the light bulbs in my studio, and I don't know if I bought a weird brand or if I didn't pay attention to the box or whatever, but everything's got this weird yellow glow. I'm super pasty. I'm definitely gonna get new bulbs for that. My bar light that normally lights my face is competing with this weirdness. Blech. So we're just gonna ignore that. Please ignore that. Blech. Um, the other thing I'm going to apologize for is if you look at me, I swear I did not get into a fist fight with someone. My eyes are super puffy. My nose is all stuffed up. I'm having some kind of allergy attack this morning that I've already taken meds for. I did the warm compresses. I did everything I could to try and get rid of it before I had to film. But I'm so busy right now. I could not wait any longer. I've got too much going on for me to put this off. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just suck it up. Tell you wonderful professional nerd fans out there that yes, I've got weird bags under my eyes and I occasionally have to sniffle. Again, I don't know what happened. I woke up like this, so it isn't something that I ate. So please don't worry that I'm gonna have like some kind of weird anaphylactic shock on camera. It's not something that I ate. It's not something that I got into. If anything, we have lots of animals in our house. We've got 3 dogs, 3 cats, and a lizard. And quite often the cats definitely sleep in bed with us a lot. And occasionally the dogs will jump up, or at least one dog in particular will jump up and want to cuddle. But there's one particular cat that sleeps not only like in bed, but like tends to come up and sleep by our heads and pillows. I'm gonna assume that my wonderful kitty cat, I love you, Larfleas, that she must have stepped in something or maybe got the right kind of dirt on her paws or in her fur or whatever, and then last night while I was sleeping did that meow thing to me because I woke up this morning and my under my eye was all puffy and burning. Like it honestly felt like I had maced myself, which I have done, so I know what that feels like. It was like a super. It reminds me of like when I am cutting peppers when I'm cooking or something, and I do one of these numbers where it's not quite in the eye, so the eye itself isn't hurting, but the area around it is super puffy and angry. That's how I woke up, and I took some meds, and this is way better than it was. So bloop 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 bloop. We'll see. Hopefully it shakes it. But for now, I just wanted to apologize. I swear to God, I do not look. I haven't like. I didn't like wake up and get into a fist fight with a suckerfish or something stupid. I just and I'm not like super sick or anything. It's just a weird allergy thing, and I do not know how to get rid of it in time to film and still get all my work done today. So let's get into it. We're gonna do the week in Bryan. We're gonna go ahead and start with gaming. I have been playing video games with my kid, obviously. We got to play. We are almost done with the main story in the Xbox Dark Alliance game, which we actually roped one of my other D&D friends, in to play with us, and so we are all like levels like 13 through 15, and he's like level 2. And we told him, we were like, you're probably gonna die a lot. We'll be there to help you. But you'll level fast. So we got to play one part of a level. So in that game, there's different like levels on the map and different like stories, and each story is broken into 3 acts. We did the first act of one of these story one of these story quests, and he went up like 5 levels, got a bunch of like epic level loot, because there's no level cap to what you can carry and what you can use, which I actually super agree with. By the way, it's a good balancing factor for games like this, where you can have someone super high level play with someone super low level. But he did die a lot, and there was a running gag that like he has one move that does a lot of damage, but then leaves him open to just get insta-gibbed by the bad guy. But that we had a lot of fun. It was also the first time that all 4 of us, myself, one of my best friends in the world from the East Coast, Bill, my D&D buddy, and my son Connor, all 4 of us got a chance to play. It was awesome. We had a great time, and I hope we get to do it again. Hopefully soon. Let's see what else. Got to play in my my wife's D&D game, which we are traveling from my character's hometown. I'm from the Underdark, or the Underlands in her game. I have a Duergar, cleric of the Forge, super grumpy all the time. But we stopped by my hometown. We picked up this cool prophecy, and now we are, or this kind of quest, kind of about a prophecy, and now we are wandering around in some deep tunnels to try and find sign of a holy place, because we got to try and get some inspiration from one of the gods. It's cool. It's very epic. Again, it's the first game that she's ever ran, and she will admit there's a couple of hiccups here and there, but we're having a great time. We're having a really good time, and she's building this really cool world. But more than anything, it's a great way to spend a few hours on a Sunday that isn't watching TV or cooped up, and I'm glad they're having a good time. The other game I got to play this weekend, I ran my Knotted Wheel D&D homebrew, which is a very heavy miniature based game. So I had a blast. I've been waiting for this chapter, like this realm that they're visiting, for months at this point, because I've known what I wanted to do with it. It's very like it's fake. It's a lot of illusions, but the illusions are not like designed to like hurt you or anything. It's like the trees are built but not quite right. The wind blows, but it always blows from the same direction. Everything is just very eerie and wrong and weird, and it's all magical, and they seem to have a really good time. They made it to the first big encounter to talk to the first like NPC that hopefully will tell at the beginning of the next time we play. They'll get a little actual story about what is happening. Like why this place exists, what's going on, why is it weird, why is it not, why does it seem unfinished in places. They should hopefully get a lot more of that information in the next session, because they just freed one of the like the NPC kind of story giver characters in this world. So that'll be fun. And then upcoming, so by the time this comes out, well, I've already played. I've got the Godfall D&D game that is streamed through the I think is it More Than Dice? I really need to be better about figuring out where that's being streamed. It's not streamed live. It's streamed. He goes in and puts it out after the fact. I think it's More Than Dice. I think it's the More Than Dice podcast. But it's a lot of fun. I get to play a goblin pirate, a goblin land pirate, to be specific. His world, Eric's world, the world of Godfall is it's got some unique isms. It definitely has some elements to it that when he eventually gets around to writing his rulebook, he's going to need to make sure that is very well spelled out and very expressly, hey, this is different in my world, please keep this in mind. But collectively, it's still a very cool D&D world, and our characters are learning about, it sounds like a plot that like these dark demons are on the rise. They're called the shadows, and it sounds like the shadows or the shadow creatures are breaking through the realm, and our characters are being blamed for it because it's happening everywhere we go, but not everywhere in the world. So more to that, I'm sure, in the future. And then I've got the Waking Realms game, which is my Capoeira Cat Monk tomorrow. And then this weekend, if all goes well, I'm supposed to run my first in-person non-playtest Transformers role-playing game for my friends and family. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'm hoping it goes well. It's a new system for everybody involved because none of the people one of the people playing as a playtester, but everybody else is just a gamer, so we'll see. Yeah, I'm hoping that they will not only enjoy the system, but they'll, obviously I want them to enjoy Essence20. But I'm hoping that they'll like the story. One person in particular was kind of iffy about playing Transformers to begin with. But we'll see. I think that I'm a good enough game master and teller of stories and arcs that I should be able to keep them entertained and get even the most skeptical of players involved with a plot involving giant robots. Okay, so that's all my gaming. Personal. I need to. So I was super stressed out last week about going to the doctor about just it was. Yes, it's a checkup, and I was absolutely stressed out about it. Well, the fates turned. You'll notice that I'm smiling. I was on my way to the doctor's appointment, or we're doing some errands before the doctor's appointment, when my doctor called me and had to reschedule because they were sick. How often does the doctor call in sick? So obviously my mood picked up immediately, my anxiety flew out the window because I didn't have to go, and now I get to push that off until the end of March. But I am trying to stay better about my my eating habits. I'm trying to get back to losing the weight because I have definitely noticed that I put it back on. I don't think I've backslid all the way to where like all of that weight loss was irrelevant, but I definitely have backslid and put a bunch of it back on, and I feel it. I feel it in a couple of different ways. So I need to get back to that. I wish I had more time to focus on that sort of thing, but professionally, we'll get to that in about 2 seconds as to why I'm so stressed out and so busy. Sticking with the personal stuff, I've got a couple of eBay auctions up, by the way. I'll go ahead and put the links in the description. I am selling a handful of Marvel Crisis Protocol. This is one that I modified. I hated Blade jumping over a sewer grate that was like ghostly hands coming out of him. He's a vampire hunter, not a ghost hunter. But I just you know me, if you've watched this and you heard me rant about it, I'm not a big fan of like epic storytelling bases in the first place. I prefer to have a base that in theory could appear anywhere that you play the game, not like, oh, everywhere Blade walks ghosts happen. Or oh look, Scarred, the Princess Queen, she has the front end of her boat everywhere. I get it for art pieces to sit on a shelf, but for gameplay pieces, I hate it. So I converted him. But yeah, so it's a 6 models. On average, they're between $15 to $16 each. I'm doing a big group deal to try and get people to save. And then also to make some room on my shelf for some incoming products, I am selling off my painted Transformers, my painted Transformer guys, fully hand painted, 0 stickers and decals. Everything is hand painted on these guys. I'll miss them. I was originally painting them because I was designing I was armchair designing a Transformers miniature game to use those models from WizKids, but they stopped the line. They stopped creating the line, so that sort of went out the window. And now I've got a set of cool models. I mean, they're really neat, neat minis, and they're very well painted, I might add. But I think that hopefully they will go well in someone else's home, that they will serve somebody else very, very well. What's the harm? I'll put the links in the description and see what happens. Professionally, so this is where things are going to get sticky. I'm busy. I'm a busy boy. Renegade has me working on a bunch of scenarios for the Play Renegade program. I still have my Shadowrun novel that I'm working on. The guys at Dungeon in a Box have asked me to do more of their little cool monsters for their monthly subscription program. And what else? I know there was something else. I signed a consultant gig for a person who is trying to create their own role-playing game and get it to Kickstarter. So we get together at least once a week digitally for a couple of hours to talk about the process of turning his game from a bunch of notes in a binder effectively to an actual product that you can put on Kickstarter. I have, what else? There was something else. My Warzone is ramping up. We're spending a lot more time getting playtest notes cleaned up for the rules, trying to make some final tweaks to some of the weapons and units, kind of before this last rush towards the Kickstarter, which Alex announced is going to be in May. I've got a ton of painting to do. I signed another commission, actually, to paint some models for a guy. But also while I'm painting the commission models, I've got a ton of demo figures that I need to paint for Adepticon, because Adepticon is going to be our first actual demo booth for Warzone Eternal. There's just a lot. There's just a lot going on, and then all of this stuff, take all of that and bring into consideration that I had an amazing meeting with a new employer, a new client that was, I think that I can't, obviously I can't discuss it, NDA, but there is a lot of potential there for some very, very cool stuff in the future. But right now, I gotta, kind of keep my eyes on the prize and show this new client that I can produce awesome things in order for that future awesome stuff to happen. So there's a lot going on, and throw that in with my weekly videos here, and trying to take care of my lovely wife, and the family and the dogs and all that stuff. It's just it's a lot. Yeah. So there you go. All right, let's get into the topic on hand. Oh, I almost forgot. So today, being the first video in March, we get to tell you the February comment raffle winner, and that would be Mr. Chuck Schulte from episode 178. I will be putting a note on his comment to reach out to me to win his comment raffle prize from February. Yay! So congratulations, Chuck. And for the rest of you, if you're wondering how to do this, every month I do a single raffle prize, which is basically a box of assorted product from my sponsors, from my studio, from my own from my own person, just a collective stuff that is all nerd and geek related, that hopefully you open that box and go, whoa, what a weird collection of cool stuff. And at least something in that box pertains to you and your part of being a gamer. All right, so let's talk. You clicked on the thumbnail. You know what was happening. Well, so just last night, by when this was being recorded, so a couple nights ago by the time this is out, or perhaps a long time ago if you are watching this in the future. Scott and Sarah over at Renegade did the virtual RenCon Just Wait special, which basically told people about a bunch of new products that are going to be out for Gen Con, specifically sometime in the next, in various formats for the first half of the year. And in that stream, Essence20 got a lot of cool attention. We got a lot of stuff that's dropping for Essence20. In those things, we've got there's going to be an early PDF release for Across the Stars for Power Rangers. Super excited about that. When that drops, I'll probably do a step-by-step here on the channel. Maybe that'll be next week. The time is now. My Transformers Super Adventure arc. That's going to be out in PDF format next week. So that's dropping early. The Sergeant Slaughter kind of super kit that's got stuff for different games and different models, and that's going to be out soon. The Cobra Codex, Ryan's source book that allows you to play Cobra characters in the G.I. Joe role-playing game, that will be hopefully out at least in limited numbers by Gen Con. Finster's Monster Manic Cookbook, that will be out by Gen Con. Where Scott let people know that not only is it just a monster manual filled with over 100 cool monsters for Essence20, but it has rules on how to play Psycho Rangers. It's got rules for alien sorcery, so you can learn some magic. It's really, really cool. I was very, very happy for all of these things. And then he dropped the bomb and told everybody about the Field Guide to Action and Adventure. Basically, this was a book that a handful of us on the staff got together and compiled. Basically, we put together a book on how to cross over Power Rangers, Transformers, and G.I. Joe in various ways. And I really do think that book is going to fly off the shelves. It's a very, very cool. We put in a whole bunch of equipment and character options and perks and stuff like that. So it's not only just cool game mastery. Hey, this is how you run an adventure that's these two things, or how you make a campaign that's got everything, or how do you just bring in a little bit of G.I. Joe to your Transformers game. It's not just that. It's also a bunch of actual character assets that mix and match different elements of these genres together, these settings. But I really think that that's going to be a fan favorite. It's gonna do really, really well, and I'm just excited. Everybody involved with that, we wrote that book almost a year ago at this point, and just have been kind of waiting, and we were told very expressly from the very beginning, do not tell people about this book. This is a secret. So the fact that we finally got, the cat is officially out of the bag, and we can talk a little bit about it. I love it. All right, let's see what else. I mean, there was a bunch of good news about other things, but Essence20 really got a big bump, and I wanted to explain why that is. Because a lot of people were like, man, we've seen one adventure, a couple of books, a couple of screens, but no source books. All this stuff, you've been working on this for years. So COVID and the shipping crisis and paper prices and everything really did slow a lot of stuff down. So although we might have 6 or 7 manuscripts done and basically going through the post-production process at Renegade for Essence 20, it we don't. It's going to take a minute for those to eventually get produced, completely cleaned up, printed, ready to go, and sent out. And you also don't want to flood. They're marketing people. They don't want to flood the market with here's 8 products all at once, because the gamers aren't going to be able to just go down and buy them all at their game store immediately. You want to try and space that stuff out, because you want to be able to keep the player's attention and keep them excited about the game and looking forward to that next thing. If they get everything, they'll play for a couple of months, and then something new and fancy will get their attention, and they'll head off out to that. So that you got to spread out. You got to spread the love. Not to mention, producing a book is expensive, and if you produce 5 books all at once, that's a giant drain on your accounts and on your fundage, and then you just got to basically hope that the sales make up for it, instead of seeing maybe it is, maybe it isn't, and this book did really, really, really well, so we can ride that wave. Or maybe, oh hey, this book really sales are dragging, we need to focus on that in a different way. So that's the reason why things are spaced out. There's so much written, already done and ready to go. I think on myself, I've got like 5 books that are finished and sitting in the queue. So it's gonna happen. We got this. I'm just excited that even the PDF versions are gonna be out of 2 of my books next week. So I'm super psyched about that. Technically, Across the Stars is the very first real source book for any of the Essence 20 games. So that's going to give people a good idea of what to expect for future books, like kind of that sort of like feel of what gets delivered. Yeah, so big happies there. But yeah, all right. So let's get into it. Let's talk about combat in Essence 20. I've had several people make comments that they understand the Essence 20 system, but they're having a hard time with combat because combat is kind of a I don't want to say a flexible thing, but everything in Essence 20 is designed to be cinematic and malleable. That you can alter things kind of as you go. There is, characters have low health, compared to hit points in D&D or anything like that. Most attacks only do 1, maybe 2 damage. Critical hits get up to 3. Sometimes you get, some combinations that people have figured out to do astronomically high damage, but it's normally very expensive in their game assets, like their character assets. They've got to spend a bunch of stuff, or they can only do this if the dice are perfect. But I mean, there are always exceptions. There's always issues where maybe we as designers didn't realize that this plus this equals 5 damage every round. And if that kind of stuff happens, then as a game master, we suggest finding a way to mitigate that. If all of your characters have min-maxed their way to gaming success and they're doing 3-4 damage constantly, or 2 damage 5 times around, or something like that, then you need to either alter your bad guys and make them a little hardier, make them a little tougher, or find a way to discuss the situation with the player and go, hey, the game, we're having less fun at the game because you are doing all of the damage every round. Is there any way that we can talk you into maybe toning it down a little bit so the rest of us can have as much fun as you are? I don't think that that's necessary in most cases. I think most of the time the system balances itself. That guy who does the 5 damage when he hits, he probably had to spend a story point or 2 power points, or he's used 3 of his abilities that were once per scene or something like that. So we'll say that while no system, even Essence 20, is immune to the tarnish of min-max gaming. We'd like to think that hopefully it's more balanced than just slinging stuff at the wall and hoping that it all sticks. I think there's two big things to remember. We'll say three. There's three big things to remember in an Essence 20 combat, aside from the general cinematic nature of things. And what I mean by general cinematic is there are a lot of instances where hopefully your Essence 20 games are not just I swing, you swing, I swing, you swing, I swing, you swing. Hopefully you're doing other actions. You're running, you're jumping, you're looking at your environment, you're using props, you're using the hang-ups and narrative elements of the bad guys you're fighting. That's what we hope will happen when you do do your Essence 20 combats. But the way to hopefully sort of lean into that and to give people basically reward them for doing cool things. If they the guy who runs over and goes, I hit the guy with my sword, take 3 damage, versus the guy that says, okay, I'm gonna baseball slide under the picnic table, come up on the other side and hit him in the back, with my sword. And you go, all right, that's cool. The kind of slide under. Go ahead and give me an athletics roll or an acrobatics roll, and if you make it, it's super. It's relatively easy. But if you make it, I'll give you a shift up on your attack because you jumped up on the other side and kind of surprised him because he was looking at the other way or something like that. You can always the Essence 20 dice shift system is designed for game masters to give and take these modifiers based off of the moment. It's not just, oh, I aimed, I've got a scope, I'm up high. Not always. Some of that it could just be, hey, player 1 is shining a mirror in his eyes. Can I get an upshift because he's distracted? That's cool. That person's basically lending assistance. There's a lend assist action that normally the lend assist requires you to be within your reach of your target because you basically have to kind of keep their attention. You're sort of distracting them while your friend is making the attack. But in that instance, if I had a player that was like, can I use lend assistance from 20 feet away if I'm shining a light in their eyes? That's awesome. You're using your environment. You're using the cinematic nature of the system. Heck yeah, take that upshift and hopefully hit better or something. Which actually leads me to what I was going to talk about is one of the other elements of Essence 20 Combat is that Essence 20 was designed to be a team-based game. It was designed for multiple people to be the protagonists, all on whether it's in a faction or on a team of the moment or a mission team or something. Is that we know some of the bad guys have got really high defenses. Like some of these guys are really difficult to hurt just looking at the weight of dice. And when someone looks at the paper and goes, all right, so I've got my D20, I've got my D4, the best I can roll is a 24, but your main bad guy in your book's got a defense of 25. I can't ever hurt him. Upshifts. Get help. Have your friends lend assistance. Find bonuses to your bonuses of the moment. Figure out what the opponent's hangups and weaknesses are. That's the kind of stuff that we, rather than just running in and start clobbering something and then going, man, this doesn't work. We want you to think like this is a story. We want you to think on your feet and figure out more about the bad guy and your environment and how your other players, how your team can help you. Teamwork. The other one of the other things that I think thinking about an Essence20 combat is that the threat level system gives a general approximation as to roughly how tough it should be compared to a team of a team of characters. But it is not perfect, and game masters need to be flexible. If they start seeing that their bad guys are just too tough, or there's too many minions, or the players are just really getting frustrated because they're having a hard time with the numbers, or they're, they're not playing up to their strengths or whatever, is you need to be ready as a game master to adjust, maybe tweak that difficulty on site. And the best ways to do that are not like automatically go, oh, you hit, I'm going to change my defenses. Nothing like that. But maybe set the defeated status, like the how you defeat. Normally you defeat something when it gets to 0 health. Maybe you set the bad guy that he has his defeated at like 3. Like when he gets to half health, he's like, I'm not going to get beat up anymore. I'm out of here. And his defeated as he flees. Or, maybe have some kind of, at half health, or if half of the team gets knocked out, an ally can show up. Which, as of Across the Stars and the Field Guide, you'll have rules for allies. And that's something that you can spend. Basically, you get to spend story points on to call in help. Again, team-based game. I really do think. I think that the ebb and flow of the cinematic nature of Essence20 helps combat not just be a grind, but you need to be, as a game master and as a player to a certain degree, you need to be flexible enough to realize that it's okay to try and do weird stuff during the turn. Are you going to be able to do 10 different actions and break the game in a different way? No. Your game master's not going to let you do that. But if you've got this really cool idea that seems like it might take a couple, a combat round is 6 seconds. If you got something that you want to do and it seems like it might be just a little bit more involved than what 6 seconds would be, let them have it. It's about everybody having fun and about everything, taking place and happening the way it's supposed to. In that cinematic telling the story sort of thing. If your Power Rangers don't get to do some of the cool flippy neat stuff, or I'm gonna shoot my blasters as I'm running over to protect the innocent. That's the kind of cool stuff that should happen during these games, rather than just, well, the innocent will be fine, I'm gonna go ahead and just stand here and trade blows with the bad guy until one of us is dead. And yes, every game can make their combat. Any game, even the most grindiest of D&D can make combat cinematic and fun. We actually are hoping with Essence20 that that's where it starts. That we want you to try and begin there. We don't want any of your combats to be a slog if you can help it. That's why we've got so many ways to spend story points, so many ways to, individual super attacks are only once per scene. We want you to, rather than be like, I use my Mega Saber. How about you tell me what happens with that Mega Saber? Think about the TV shows. When they go to do their big super crazy attack, they always take a second to show it off to the audience. It's not just suddenly, oh, I've got this thing, pow, take the hit. It's, you see them recalibrating their gun or taking that big deep breath, getting ready to do the thing, or in the case of like Power Rangers, they summon the giant sword from the Morphin Grid. These are things that can help make those combats more entertaining than just I hit you hit, I hit you hit, I hit you hit, dead. Which actually brings me to what I consider to be probably the most unexpectedly cool aspect of Essence20. and that is the defeated state. So the defeated state, let me go ahead and read it straight out of the book. Defeated characters are prone. Acting while defeated is possible based on the nature of the defeat, requires a story point. So, oh, sorry, my UV curer for my 3D printer just stopped. Beep, beep, beep. Okay. So defeated just in and of itself knocks you prone, and you can't take any actions without sending story points. That's the cut and dry of it. There's so much more that you can do with defeated. As a game master, your threats, if it's a minion that maybe, as putty patrollers, they explode. Cobra soldiers, they throw their guns down and they surrender, or they get knocked out. Lesser sparkless drones, like Decepticon drones, they explode. Defeated can be something simple for something like for minions, that kind of stuff. Unless you're less in the scene, you need something special, like you're trying to specifically capture a Cobra informant or something. You're trying to capture enough Cobra guys so you can have their uniforms to break into a base or a bunker. That's always something cool you can do. A lot of our written adventures will have basically defeated caveats built into the different scenes. If the bad guy defeats you, this happens. If you defeat the bad guy, this happens. So it's not always just, okay, they're lying there on the ground. Now they're dead. Now they're prone. There's way more you can do with that. You can build up cool defeated things. You can also use defeated to build the story. Whether it's if the players get defeated and get captured, that's a big fan favorite. Or the bad guy gets defeated and now you've got this very colorful, flavorful NPC that is now in handcuffed with your guys. Okay, I guess you're taking me along. How cool is it to have a bad guy with your good guys, talking smack to them, feeding them misinformation. Well, I don't know. I don't remember there being traps through here. That's the kind of cool stuff that you can do with the end of a combat. It doesn't have to just be, play that Final Fantasy win music, and move on to the next encounter. There can be so much more that you can get out of defeating your opponents if the game master builds that into their combat, builds that into the kind of the story arc of the combat itself. Because again, Essence20 is built around scenes, whether it's narrative scenes, combat scenes, and a scene should not just the end. There should be something that leads into the next scene, that explains what happened in this scene, that makes it part of the collective narrative. And I think that setting those defeated status, what that defeated's gonna mean, can be a big help to that. I did want to talk about, there was one of our wonderful Discord Rangers. For those of you who are not aware, I actually spend an hour every Monday through Friday on Renegade Games Discord channels for Essence20, answering questions, doing general chit chat, getting people pumped for new products, that kind of thing. Tease. I do a lot of teasing there. But something came up in one of the chats where apparently, so if you don't know, in Power Rangers, if you are defeated, if you are brought to 0 health while you are in your morphin shell, while you're morphed, you can either choose to get defeated and get knocked out, or you can choose to get knocked out of your morphin shell at 1 health, but you are still unconscious. So you revert back to your person form, or android form, or alien form, or whatever you are. It turns you back into that and knocks you out. Now, it takes actions for other people to wake you up. Technically, when you get woken up and you're back, you're kind of with it again, in theory you could try and remorph, so there's just it's an extra layer of effort that people have to take to try and defeat a superhuman Power Ranger. But In the Discord goer, one of their characters, or one of their players, apparently he's a GM. One of their players had asked, or rather, he was asking about one of his players. It seemed like because there was no real massive drawback to being defeated. Your character doesn't die. It's this game's not built to just meat grinder through characters. That and the defeated kind of still needs to move the story along. His characters, his players, his rangers just don't have any fear of being defeated. If they get defeated, no big deal. We go after it again. We know we're not going to die, that sort of thing. And so he had asked, what do I do to make my players a little more realistic about, we could actually be defeated here, to fear defeat a little bit. And I think, aside from setting cool defeated parameters that could have lasting narrative effects, some players just will not care about that. Some players will be like, whatever, the story will go on and we'll find a way to make it happen. But there are definitely ways that you can kind of sort of jam home hey, being defeated isn't something that you should just be okay with. You should try and fight against that. It should be something that you do kind of fear. And I think one of the ways to do that, there are three ways really to kind of add an element of, hey, you don't want to be defeated to your combats. The first one, the easiest one, is basically big narrative effects. If the team gets knocked out and the bad guy can't, and the bad guy gets away, they can't beat the bad guy, then you change their narrative that, yes, the bad guy got away while you were unconscious. He knocked down a skyscraper, or the entire wharf district is on fire. You can add in things that suddenly the players go, oh man, because we didn't care to persevere ourselves and we were all glass hammers, we got smacked, and now the town is suffering. Maybe if they this happens a lot, if the monsters just wipe the floor of the Power Rangers over and over and over again, maybe the locals stop trusting the Power Rangers. They end up on the newspaper as, you're the one that brought these monsters to us, and now you can't even defeat them. This is there's ways for you to try and add narrative oomph. If one of your characters has a backstory that he has family in the area, put the family at risk. Or you make them go, you have a scene with the character talking to his family, and the family's like, we have to move because our house got stepped on by a giant gorilla. These are things that you can do to try and ram home hey, we need to start paying attention to our combats. We want to win, but we need to also fight against losing. There's a difference to both of those. I think the second way to do it, to kind of drive home defeated, is scars. Scars, break equipment. You do things that will have some kind of lasting effect on the character. That will not even necessarily a rules effect, but it can be a rules effect. Somebody gets scarred up. You let them know that when your scars are when that rake across your face from that Tenga claw, when that's visible, you have a downshift on all your social aspects because people are paying attention to your scar instead of your words. You could have, let's say that someone gets this really cool piece of equipment or an artifact or something, and as part of them being defeated, you break it. they'll notice. Yeah, in Power Rangers, a lot of times your equipment kind of just sort of can be pulled from the morphin grid. But what if it's something you didn't get from the grid? What if it was a piece of alien technology, or a piece of local human art that you were trying to protect? These are things that you can do to kind of point out, hey, you messed up, and there's consequences. And then the last one. And the last one, this I think is my favorite. It's the one that we spent the most time on Discord talking about. Is so in Essence20, hang-ups are weaknesses. They are general flaws and weaknesses to your character. Normally they're pretty mild based off of where they came from. They're almost always the other side of a coin, as part of like the influence system. So if your influence gives you this kind of maybe mild ability or mild power, the hang up is likely not going to be all that crippling or imposing. Whereas if you've got something that might give you like a reroll to this skill once seen, you're probably going to have a much bigger hang up to kind of balance that factor out. One of the things that we've mentioned several times now is hang-ups and influences are kind of things that you could, as a game master, you could give to your players. Whether it's something cool happens, so you give them a cool influence that sort of reflects that as a reward, or you give them a hang-up as a kind of a detriment for being defeated. Let's say I used a couple of examples on Discord. One of the characters in a live stream basically kept getting smashed to the ground by Goldar in Power Rangers game. Goldar is this giant warrior. He's a golden armored warrior ape alien. And every time this character would stand up, Goldar would hit him back down again. And he knocked him out like 5 times in the same match, kept knocking him prone. And I was like, so what you do is you give that character a hang-up. And that hang-up might be something like, just stay down. And it's, every time that you're prone, you look up at your enemy, and the enemy, whatever enemy is above you, and you realize it's standing up, I'm just going to get hit again. And so it takes a ton of effort for you to actually stand back up in a fight if there are bad guys nearby. And so instead of it costing just half of your movement or 15 feet of your movement, it takes an actual full action to pick yourself up and brush yourself off and get ready for the fight. Because in your mind, as soon as you stand up, Goldar's going to knock you back down again. And so you give that to that character as a drawback to being defeated. And the only way to get rid of that is to beat the next time you beat a superior foe. So the next time you beat a Goldar, or you beat somebody else that's a higher threat level than your role level, somebody who's out of your league, or maybe even just physically bigger, somebody who you do have to look up at, then that hang up, you can erase it, because you've gotten over your fear, so that's the kind of, another example is somebody who is defeated by like lightning bot, someone who's got massive amounts of lightning that's shooting out of them, and so you literally were electrified during this combat and it knocked you out. And when you wake up, you have kind of an illogical fear of electricity. So anytime that you're around like not Cybertronians, but like current Transformers, and or in a lightning storm, like the game master says, well, if there's heat lightnings in the air, there's storm clouds are brewing, and suddenly your character has a downshift to like all of his alertness skills, because he's constantly worried about he's going to get hit by lightning again, because that was so terrible the first time. Or a group of bad guys with like Jacob's Ladder style electroshock prods comes out at you, and that character is immediately brought back to when lightning bot nearly electrified him to death. So now he sees these guys coming at him, and he's like, and takes a bunch of penalties or something, or maybe is frightened from them. These are things that you can add as a game master to someone's character as part of the defeated, in order to build a bigger a bigger drawback, a bigger penalty for just getting into combat and start swinging. Oh, I got knocked out. Big deal. I'm not saying that you have to do this all the time. I'm not saying that every defeated should have something. Otherwise, suddenly your characters are filled with nothing but, all this trauma and stress, and they've got nothing good going for it. I'm saying that it's a good way to highlight particular defeats, or highlight particular instances to add a little gravity to an otherwise kind of, I don't want to say flippant, but like laid back that cinematic style. Sometimes be like, well, I'm just defeated, I'll wake up and I'll be fine. You can add some extra color to it, add some battle scars, so to speak, or being literal if you want. The end result is Essence20 combat. We've always known it needs to be that it's designed around being in a team. Yes, you might have a solo player in the team, but he probably, they probably still have several powers and abilities and things that help function with the team as well. Even as just the base game, the base setting, everybody can help lend assistance in combat. That's that was not on accident. We did that on purpose because we want people to think, how can I help you? It isn't just, I'm lending assistance. How are you helping? Are you running over and trying to distract the bad guy? Are you flanking them and poking them with a stick? Are you like, what are you doing to help with this lend assistance? The bad guys can just, as a game master, you could be lazy where they just run up and hit you. What do? I run into this guy and hit you. Or they spend a turn monologuing, or they send in their minions and watch for a turn while the minions are doing their bidding. This is the cool stuff you can do, and you should do in an Essence20 game to help make more of a scene out of that combat, especially because health levels are so low and damage levels can be so high, or can be momentarily higher. There's nothing wrong with adding a little more fluff and a little more narrative and a little more pomp to those combat scenes. The whole point is to try and build a cool story, and the last thing you want is someone to go, what did you guys do tonight? We beat up a bad guy. How'd that go? I hit him with my sword a bunch of times. Anything else cool? How much different is that same story when you get to tell somebody, oh yeah, the Blue Ranger ran over and grabbed him around the waist, and our Transformer buddy, I'm doing a crossover game in my head, and our Transformer buddy turned into his alt mode and like jumped off of a ramp and clipped him with rammed him with his bumper in the upper part of the body, while the Blue Ranger became a table and knocked him over. That's so much more. That's so much cooler than saying the Blue Ranger gave me lend assistance and I rammed him for 2 damage. There's so much better you can do. At Essence20, I really do. We built this system to try and be more cinematic for a reason, and I really hope that in the weeks to follow, months to follow, games to follow, that you will take advantage of that and try and make your games into more story, even during combat. I saw the time. It's about that time. We got to get going. I got stuff to do, and I got to get this video rendered for tomorrow. Thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for listening about some Essence20 combat ideas. If you've got any other cool ideas about Essence20 combat, or any comments that you want to make, put them in the description, or put them in the comments below. I think next week I might have a cool interview lined up, but I don't know. I gotta verify that. But either way, I'm very, very excited to see all these cool new Essence20 products coming out, and I hope to hear more from you guys about your enjoyment of these products and what you think of them as they are revealed to us. So without further ado, please, please, please be safe. Get vaccinated, wear a mask if you have to, get your boosters, take your vitamin C. Don't let cats rub allergens all over your face. Be safe is really what it comes down to. And make sure that you leave, at least try to leave every room that you enter a little happier than when you got there. But most of all, play some games. We'll see you next week.